Kong AI-Proxy. What is that for? So Kong has an AI proxy. And this AI proxy has the ability to connect directly to AI, like for example Gemini or OpenAI or other. The idea is that we can connect to these services via this proxy. And this has benefits like for example automatic management of API keys. It can save statistics. It can also log different important metrics that we might be interested in. But probably for me personally, as far as I could see, maybe the best benefit is that it standardizes our requests. When we make requests to OpenAI or when we make requests to other, we will find that there are maybe different kinds of requests that we need to make, different kind of payloads. And Kong standardizes that in one single endpoint that we can make with the Kong API Gateway. And in order to configure that, please follow this tutorial video where I will show you just that. If we want to run this on our machine, probably the best way to start is to simply first to download the Kong OSS version. This we can do via this command here. We make a curl and then we simply just start a script that will download all the different containers. It will start our Kong gateway and it will start a PostgreSQL database, and then it will start the migration on that database. And the idea is that we then get our database ready to work with Kong so that we can proceed to our configurations. Let's see the first step that we need to do while it is downloading all of the containers that we need in our Docker Compose environment locally. Now the first thing that we need to do obviously is to create a service. The service will allow us to connect directly to one of these. We are going to use Gemini in this example, not for any other reason than purely the fact that Gemini provides API keys for free, whereas OpenAI, for example, does not. We need to pay for the usage of our API keys. Currently, I don't know, at the moment you're watching this video, in the past it was possible, but right now it is not. So I chose to use Gemini, not for any particular reason. So the way to start is to simply configuring our service and giving it a name. I call it Gemini service, and then we can configure the URL https://generative-language.googleapis.com. This will allow us to connect to these services and then use our paths in our routes to be able then to connect to these services and allow us to chat with our AI. Now I can see that our containers have already downloaded and we already have our images running. Let's first check if that is true. If we issue a docker ps, we will see all the processes running. We can see two different containers running. We've got a Kong Quick Start Gateway and we've got a Kong Quick Start Database. So we've got Kong and the database where everything is going to be persisted into. So the first thing we want to do is to configure our service. As I explained before, this is what will allow us to communicate with Gemini. Then we need to establish a route. Now, which route? The one that we are interested in. And this is Gemini. This command will configure this route to our service. And the way it does this is that it calculates first which ID does the service has. Remember that you need to have JQ installed locally. And will assign it to the service ID property that we need to hand in our data. And then it will also configure the paths, which will be just one for Gemini. Now we've got our path configured, our service configured. The last thing that we need to configure is the AI proxy. And the AI proxy needs to be configured in this way. We specify the name of the property that we are configuring, that is key, and then we need to give it a value. Then we also need to specify that this is a query, and we also need to specify the route type. In this case, we are using a large language model, and it will be version 1, and we will use the one specific for chat, because we are essentially going to talk with Gemini. Then we say that the provider is Gemini, of course, and then finally we hand in the kind of the model that we are going to use. In this case will be Gemini-1.5 Flash. Important here to note is that we need to give in the value of our key, and this is our API key, which we don't have at the moment. So what we need to do is go to our browser, and here we will see where we can get the API key. So if we go to ai.google.com dev/Gemini API/docs/API key. Here we will be able to create test API keys that we can readily use with our Kong API Gateway. Important here is that we create one of those. So here we create an API key. Now it asks us for a project, and we need to have a project before we can generate an API key so that we can use here. I do have projects already there. So for example, if I use this one and I create an API key, then we've got our API key. It sets it free of charge in this table over here, and we need to copy it immediately, because if we close this window, it will go away and we will never know what was the API key that we generated, although there's a record of it being here in this table. So let's go back to our IntelliJ, and here let's just copy that key to this point, and now let's configure our API proxy. And for that, we just run this, which is just a curl request again like the other two, against our API gateway. Now, Kong is now configured for our API gateway. Now here, one thing that happens that is slightly different than what we could do with OpenAPI is that with OpenAPI, we would have to hand in the API key. In this case, that's not what we have to do. In this case, the API key is already pre-configured in Kong, so we can simply send our requests to Gemini and ask him questions. So let's now ask one question: what are the colors of the roses? Now, if we just send this here in our command line, we will see that Gemini will answer to us: roses come in a wide variety of colors, including but not limited to red, pink, white, yellow, orange, purple, lavender, coral, yada yada yada. So we've got a response from Gemini. This is directly communicating with Gemini online. What we can also do, and because if you notice messages, this property here that we use in our request is an array. So we can ask that. We can also do other things. We can also go over here and, for example, just simply make a copy, make another object, and we can ask many things here. Let's just say, for example, let's just say, when was the inception year of the Smashing Pumpkins? Why not? So let's run this and see what happens when we run this command here. We can see that, but unfortunately we can see that it only responded to the last question. And the last question was, of course, the inception year of the Smashing Pumpkins, which it answers: the Smashing Pumpkins formed in 1988. This makes some sense because I only heard about Smashing Pumpkins mid-90s. So I think this could be accurate. I'm not entirely sure. Apologies if it's not, but this is the idea of using the AI proxy of Kong. Now we can also now see that I've been sending this model, Gemini 1.5 flash parameter, and the idea of using model is that we can specify exactly what model do we want to use, but we have configured also our plugin to use only this model. So if we try to use another one, it will not accept it. And we also don't have to use it. If we just send it like this, and we just send a request, it will do exactly the same thing without the need for model. So as you can see, now the request is very standardized. It only needs to have the content, and the content is just messages with the different objects that match that message that we want to send, and ask questions and query our chatbot of Gemini. Now, Google Gemini is one of the things that we can use. We can also use OpenAI, of course, but there we have the problem of API key. But we can use many other. If we go to their webpage, we can see also that we can choose different ones, like the ones over here: Anthropic, Azure, Bedrock, Cohere, Gemini, Vertex, Hugging Face, Llama 2, Mistral, and OpenAI. All right, so this was my short introduction to the AI proxy of Kong. This video had to be done at lightning speed. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to drop us a like at the end of watching this video. Please leave your comments in the comment section, I really appreciate that. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, of course, because the more you subscribe, the more this channel can grow. Anyways, remember, don't forget to stay tech, keep programming, be kind, and have a good one. Bye!
As a short disclaimer, I'd like to mention that I'm not associated or affiliated with any of the brands eventually shown, displayed, or mentioned in this video.